What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I want to firstly apologize if there's any lapses in my brain or long pauses. I just started my third week of learning Finnish in school, and my brain is completely fried. It's just a lot to take in. It really is. Learning a new language is, especially I'm taking the intensive course, so that's what it is too, but man, this is really just confirming to me you really do need to love what you are learning about in order for you just to push through and get to whatever you're trying to achieve. If it's a language, if it's a degree, you really need to love it. I mean, that's why I had a hard time in college, especially in America, because you have to pay for it and it's a little different. But I don't know, even if I wasn't, I would still have a hard time if I was just trying to force myself to do something that I just did not want to do. Or, I don't know, yeah, it just wasn't, I don't know, that I didn't really want to do for the rest of my life. So it was really kind of hard for me to be there. But now learning Finnish is different. I have a lot of motivating factors, like my wife, her family. I live in Finland now. If that's new, if you're just tuning in for the first time in a while, update. I'm married and I live in Finland now. So there you go. You're all caught up. So I am just trying my best. Trying your best is just all I can do. But I'm so hard on myself sometimes because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to things. And I just want to have everything perfect. Like simply with this podcast, for example, the audio. Okay, I'm make sure everything's perfect. And I want the camera to be perfect. I want the light to be perfect. I mean, today was a gray day. I can't control that. You know, I said last episode, I was like, we better enjoy the sun because it can just go away in an instant. And man, it's all gray now. It's truly turning fall soon and then soon winter. But I don't know. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And so when it comes to learning, I want to be good now. That's the hard thing with me is I want to be good now. And like I'm even praying. I'm like, God, can you please help me just learn Finnish quick? Just a little quicker. I was like, I just need help retaining it. And I don't know. I just have a lack of confidence in myself to be able to learn this language. And I just can't wait for the day that it eventually all clicks and I can just speak in Finnish like it's like how I'm speaking English right now. I don't even have to think about it. I don't even have to think about it and the words just come out. That would be so beautiful. I don't know, just thinking about that and learning this language is also just made me think about how beautiful the human brain is. It is. It's fascinating. I don't know, the things that you have, I don't know. It's just impressive and just how God created humans and just our brains and how it's able to retain information and we have different languages and we can speak and without even thinking, I don't know, it's just the words are just coming out of my mouth without me feeling I even have to try. But then when it comes to Finnish, I have to really think on those. And I just can't wait for the day that I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just say it. I just automatically, bam, I got a response in Finnish. There'll probably be a little tear in my eye, honestly, because it's gonna be a very big thing. I just think it's so cool of just how the human brain works. And I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not like really into the science stuff and whatnot. I don't know. Just simply learning a new language is just helped me realize of the retaining of knowledge of how great the human brain is. So thank you, God. The brain is really cool. And I don't know. Just what I learned. Actually, you know what? Probably to help detox my brain a little bit is to just talk about what I learned. It also helps me remember. And so I learned a lot of verbs in Finnish class as of like last week till today. Just a lot of verbs and how to, is it conjugate? Is that the word? I'm pretty sure it is. Conjugate those verbs. Like to put them into sentence, like a I sentence. I go to the park. You know, you go to the park. We go to the park. They go to the park. And then there's, you know, like where you're talking about somebody or he/she went to the park. I don't know. You're just learning how to conjugate the verb. And give it a different ending every time. And it's fun because Finnish to me is very like a puzzle. So you have very like it's logical, like a puzzle almost, at least as up to this point. I mean, there's probably going to be some crazy things where they're like, well, there's how this works, but there's exceptions, which in every language, there's going to probably be some exceptions. You're just going to have to know this because that's just how it is. But I think it's just so cool, man. Just being there and being with other people who want to learn this language, and we just get to be in groups. And yeah, so I don't know, like as like I'm going to the park, I go to the park. You'd be like, Mina Minin, Minin. It ends with an N. Verb, Sina Minet. And then Han Minne. And then te, because it's I, we, he, she. So te, be like, you get the point. My brain is absolutely just completely fried right now. But like the perfectionist that I am, I was like, I got to get through the whole list at this point. But I don't have to. You get the point. I learned a lot. And also just how to stretch out the letters. That's the thing too, is in Finnish, you pronounce every single letter. In English, you don't have to. And sometimes in English, you just put there's like two letters that are put together and they make a different sound. Like TH, that's a th sound. With. If I said with, but the way that Finnish people speak, it's wit. Wit. I'm pretty sure that's what it would be, pretty close. I mean, it just sounds dumb. I don't think that there's any TH. I've never seen a T and an H in any of the Finnish language, like Finnish words. So I don't think we have to worry about that, but it's just different. You pronounce every single letter, which is nice because in English there's exceptions. And night, you forget about the K. And knife, you forget about the K. You're like, oh, there's a silent K there. Well, you don't have to worry about that in Finnish. You don't have to worry about that, which is nice. It's just you pronounce every single letter. So when you see a Finnish word, if you ever come across one, just know to pronounce it, you say every letter. Now, the pronunciation of the vowels and the letters are different, but still, you pronounce every single one. Like, puisto. That's park. Puisto. Pe, u, I, as, te, o. Puisto. But you say all of it. Puisto. It's nice. And there's just no confusion in that. But then there's the flip side to it, where you have like a double letter in there. I'm trying to think of one. Pallo. 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 That's ball. But then pallo is fire. So if you don't say pallo, then you're saying fire. If you say pallo. That was probably the most, it's still really hard for me to kind of comprehend. And I have to train myself to be like, Dawson, pause whenever you see a double letter. Because you don't do that in English. Shall. You say shall. I don't think we don't hold it, but if there's a double letter in a Finnish word, you have to hold it no matter what, because it can mean something completely different. Call, like you're going to call somebody in English. C-A-L-L. Okay, fine. Call. But if it's just pallo, you better hold it. And I learned the hard way. I learned with pallo, I will never forget it because I was doing it wrong, saying it wrong the whole time. There's some kids, there's a little school that's around here. I was walking home. They kicked the ball over the fence. I was going to go help them out. I go get the ball, and I'm trying to also at the same time, incorporate me learning Finnish. So I'm like, Uncle Tama Palo. Uncle Tamapalo? Uncle Tamapalo? Thinking that I'm doing fine, you know? And then I just see them sniffing the air, like kind of looking around, like kind of confused. I'm like, what did I say? And come to find out, is this your fire? Is what I said. Is this fire? Is this your fire? And they were looking for a fire whenever I was just trying to say ball. So please correct me. Please correct me. If in the Finnish community, if I say a word wrong, please correct me. I want to be corrected. I'd rather be corrected immediately and be like, all right, cool, and learn instead of saying the wrong thing for so many times when my brain just remembers ballo as ball. And then I'm over here telling everybody like, hey, I got your fire. I got your fire. Hey, you want your fire back? It's terrible. I can't do it. Ballo. If you hold a letter in English, American English that I know, I mean, I can just speak for that one. If you just hold the letter there, it turns into sarcasm. If you hold a letter in English, it turns into sarcasm because you can say sure. Hey, you want to go somewhere, man? Yeah, sure. Sure, I can go. Which sure means like I don't really want to, but I can. There's a lot of that in English too. There's a lot of vagueness in American English. Oh, sure. What do you mean sure? Like, do you really want to go? Or do you like not? But then you can also use sure in a different way. Like if someone wants to lie, if you're only catching somebody on their lie, but in America you don't immediately call somebody out all the time. There's this time and place to absolutely call somebody out, but then sometimes you just gotta pull back a little bit. You're letting everybody else know that person is kind of stretching the truth on what they're saying, but not exactly giving it away to the person that's, you're still trying to let that person know that you're like listening and you're still like kind of convinced of what they're saying. I'll give you an example. So in high school, there was a lot of like, especially when it comes to athletes, they'll lie on their 40-yard dash. That was a big thing. I don't know why that's the first thing that popped up, but they'll lie about how fast they are. 40-yard dash in sports, they'll be just like lining up. Like, oh yeah, dude, I was a 2.5. Yeah, I did a 2.5 today in my 40-yard dash. Who was clocking you? And you can look at this person, you'd be like, yeah, there's no way they can run a 40-yard dash at 2.5 seconds. But you let them proceed. They'll be talking about how they did that 40-yard dash in 2.5 seconds and how they beat their record time and, how they're going to have like D1, college scouts coming in and looking at them. And then over here, you're just like, sure. You hit them with one of those. SURSUUUURRRREEEEEE. Or actually, SSSSUUUURRRREEEEE. Sure. Sure. You hit them with one of those in the middle of their story. And they keep going because, they don't pick on the one you're doing, but you're letting everybody else know you do not believe what they're saying. And that's what we do in English. So it comes off to me as sarcasm if I'm holding a singular letter. Ballo. What'd you just say? Ballo. It makes me, I don't know. I don't know. I could be overthinking it. I overthink a lot, but that is exactly where my brain goes. I feel like I'm being a jerk. Because also in English too, it's interesting because whenever you're holding a letter or you're enunciating every letter, because in Finnish you're enunciating every letter, but in English the only time you do that is someone goes, huh? What'd you say again? What's your name? Dawson. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What'd you say? Dawson. I'm sorry. Dawson. There you go. That's about as hard as we hold every letter and syllable in the English word. Is either when we're being sarcastic. It's just anything that involves sarcasm is when we hold the vowels and the letters and the sentence, the words. That's it. But in Finnish, it's just part of the language. You got 2 A's in there. You better hold it. But it's hard for me to. It's just something I gotta have down in my head. But I'm getting it. I'm getting it down. I love Finland, though. I really do. I haven't really had a chance to talk about like how much I really do love Finland in just so many other instances. But as much as I do love Finland, I also have realized that I've missed the United States too, because I'm talking about both of them right now. I mean, look, it is normal for you to want to miss the country that you're from. If you moved from your home country to someplace else, you're going to have that little missing home inside of you. And I haven't really felt that so much out here, but recently I have, and I realized that of how much I miss the United States just by whenever I was in the shower and I was going to wash my body. I was washing my body the other day, and all of a sudden I just started singing, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?" Dude, I was singing the Star-Spangled Banner while I was washing my body in the shower. And that's when I was like, okay, I miss the United States a little bit. I do. I gather my wife was like, "Hey, what are you singing in there?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess I miss home a little bit. Just a little bit." But there's many great things about Finland. I love it. The world's happiest country. Oh, yeah. Dude, Finns don't like it. They don't like it when you say that. They don't. I knew that right off the bat. I've said that at a couple of open mics. I was like, Finland, the world's happiest country. And you saw all their faces just go, "Oh, not another one. Not another immigrant telling us, an outsider telling us that we're the world's happiest country." Because a lot of them, I get it. If you're constantly told that, and then all of a sudden you live here, and you've lived here your whole life, you're like, "What do you mean?" Because I get it. All of them, straight faces. You don't see Finnish people smile out in public. Not at all. I'm walking out there all the time. I'm walking to work. I'm not work yet, but I call learning a language work. But I'm going to walk to school. I'm going to walk to the store. Finnish, they won't make eye contact with you at all. They won't make eye contact, won't smile, nothing. They'll look down. While it was snowing towards the end, it was getting close to spring. All the snow was melting, but there was kind of some little slippery spots. I would just slip. I slipped on the ground 3 times, and no one helped me up. Nobody. They just all. I mean, one person stepped over me because I was in their way on the sidewalk. World's happiest country. Ah, look at that. It really breaks the stigma on that one. World's happiest country. And I can't even see a smile. I go anywhere, and it doesn't. Actually, there's one place where I think that I can vote and be like, okay, well, I can see why they're the happiest country. Because this thing that Finland has here, this is their staple. It's their symbol. Finland's symbol is the sauna. Or as they say here, the sauna. Sauna. They love it. That's the happiest that I've ever. I see Finnish people crack smiles, start talking. They'll do that when they're in a sauna. And you won't see them smile or talk outside. But as soon as you step into a sauna and they're naked and sweaty, they're all like, "Oh, hey, how's your day going? You doing good?" I'm like, "I'm naked right now." This is new. I didn't know that now this is the time to talk. I didn't know we had to be naked in this sweaty, heated area. And then all of a sudden that brings out the world's happiest country in us. But I do believe that. I mean, there's so many saunas here. I read that there was almost as many saunas as people here in Finland. Almost as many saunas as people. That's crazy. That's not like a sauna for every home. I can't believe it. But it's fun. I love going to it now. I'm still getting used to it. It's a new thing, It's new for me, because in America, I don't think you can be really naked anywhere, or with around a group of people without feeling a little awkward. Like even in like if you're changing, like if you're going to a public pool, for example, and you're changing, there's like changing stalls and all of that kind of stuff. Here in Finland, not really a thing. You're just changing in front of everybody. Like, all right, cool. This is where we're at. You're kind of just like looking down the whole time. At least me, I'm trying to put my swimsuit on, trying to change as quickly as possible. And there's been times that I've been trying to change into my swimsuit, and I'm in this area, and I've walked out with my swimsuit backwards, just because I'm just trying to walk out there so quick. But then it's very interesting to me. It's not as weird as I have it in my brain, and that's what I have to realize. It's just the norm here, and I'm getting into that. But I don't know. I had an older gentleman. I went to the public pool. It was an indoor pool. I went with my wife, and then there's like one side's the men's section, one side's the women's section. So like, cool, we split. I go into the men's section, and then I have to go change into my swimsuit, and then I'm like in the middle of changing, and this older man comes out of the sauna. He comes out, no towel. He has a towel over his shoulder, just completely naked. He comes over to the locker. He's like right by me. He's just coming over to the locker. And of course, I kind of, look at him and acknowledge his existence. I just try to keep eye contact. And then I'm quickly trying to, put my, take my shorts off to put my swimsuit on. And in the middle of that, he just hits me with moika, which is like, hey, in Finnish. And he just starts trying to strike a conversation with me in Finnish, just complete Finnish, just trying to strike a conversation with me. And I'm freezing. And I'm like, I'm trying to shift quickly into fifth gear and put my swimsuit on as fast as possible. This older guy is just completely naked in front of me, just trying to have a conversation. Oh, how's the weather today? Oh man, it's so beautiful, isn't it? Oh, I love the Finnish summer. I'm like, dude, we can pick another time to talk about this. All right, can we just, go out, out there first, and then maybe we can have a conversation? But saunas, I love them. I vote that everywhere in the world we need saunas. Because, I post videos on social media, and it's like I'm trying to post consistently of like me progressing and learning the language of learning Finnish, and then, the Finnish people are so nice. Okay, if there's any Finnish people listening to this, y'all are the nicest people I've ever met. Okay, despite the not smiling and everywhere is pretty quiet. You can hear just a pin drop everywhere you go around here, but it's really awesome of just how encouraging people here in Finland are of like people learning their language, and it's really nice. So thank you, Finland, for being so kind and so motivating for this foreigner coming here. Because I have engaged that I would say that Finland is the most content country. That's where I would put it. Finland is the most content country in the world, if anything. Because I feel like that in America, we can take a lesson from Finland on this one. It's that I feel like in America sometimes we get way too caught up in the things that we don't have. And we don't focus on the things that we do have. We focus on things that are like, okay, cool, how can I make more money? How can I have more of this? How can I do this, be bigger in that? And the goals just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know, sometimes even for me, coming out here and reflecting on it, it was even hard for me to look at my present time and be like, you know what? Thank you, God, for what you have blessed me with. And thanking him for the things that he has given. Or the things that I already have. I feel like in America it's just a chase of who can be the most successful sometimes. And it's like we're just always trying to achieve, always trying to do more, asking for more. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like people here are very content. If the reason why Finland is rated the happiest country in the world and why people or why articles and stuff say that, I feel like it's because they're the most content. And that's very biblical as well. The Lord talks about contentment as well. So there we go, Finland. I don't know. It really is nice being able to come out here and not have to be. So I don't know. Just being able to see that, the cultural differences, it's really cool. It really is really, really cool. But yeah, I also had to say my phone number in Finnish class today, which I made up a phone number, but it did feel, I don't know, at least for me, because I was supposed to say it in Finnish, my phone number, and I don't know, at least from my perspective, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to give out that personal information, but she insisted. She was like, what is your phone number? And then I had to say it in Finnish, and I switched up some numbers, so I didn't give out my phone number. But I don't know. I don't know these people that I'm in class with. And some of them were just like, but then you know what? I should have said my phone number. I shouldn't have overthought it. I should have just said it because there could have been one person just jotting phone numbers down. All right, cool. That's his phone number. All right, cool. All right, hey, that's his phone number. That's her phone number. Sweet. All right. And then all of a sudden I get a text message, a couple of nights later. Hey, man, you said your phone number in class the other day out loud, and I wasn't there. I haven't been there the past couple of days. Well, what have we been learning about? So maybe I could have helped somebody out. So I don't know. Maybe I should shout my phone number out. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But my wife should be getting out of work soon. That's interesting because I think I'm on dinner duty tonight. I think I am. But we'll see what we got going on here. But anyways, my wife and I, we have been reading through the Bible together, and it's just so awesome having somebody just equally yoked with you, and then like you're having somebody also holding you accountable for being in the Word. Because I'll tell you, there's times where you're just not you got those days where you're just like, I don't, it's hard. I don't want to be in the Word, and it's hard to say that, right now for me, it's hard to say that, but it's honestly that flesh and spirit thing. And, you're like, it's funny because it's just how the life is. You always have time for the things you don't need to do, and you always don't have time for things like the Bible, and it always gets put off. And you're like, well, now it's been like a week since I've read. So I know that some people may be in that spot right now, and I just want to, I don't know. I am no theologian, okay? I don't, I'm not, great at like breaking down the Bible. I'm not here with, hardcore views and points and stuff like, dude, I am just a Bible reader, man. I'm just a Christian, and I just love talking about it because that's what I want this podcast to become too as well, because I felt that previously throughout the whole podcast and me creating it, I feel like that it was great, but there was just something missing. And I realize I love also just coming here and just also reflecting on what I've read throughout the week. And it's really nice. And maybe, you can relate and have something to go along with this with, or whoever's listening. It may be nice, this may be, a little bit of a spiritual fill up in your life, and there's some new things that you have learned. And also, please be willing to message me, email me anytime, and just, let me know what you're, oh, I've read through that. I thought that was super cool. Yeah, I feel the same way too, man. That's awesome. I don't know. But like I said, my wife and I have been going through the Bible, and we were just originally just like reading Old Testament, then some New Testament, and then kind of just, I don't know, whatever we were feeling, I guess. And then all of a sudden, we got to a part in the Old Testament. I think it was the book of Haggai. I think it was the book of Haggai. And we read that, and then we were trying to figure out what time period that was in or what it was around. And then it led us to the book of Ezra. And then we read the book of Ezra, then the book of Nehemiah, then the book of, and then it led us to the book of Esther. Because then we decided to, after the book of Ezra, we really got into the chronological like order of like where these events happen. Because sometimes you're like, okay, this completely jumped around. Like what happened next, you know? And so we got on this kick of where we're reading the Bible chronologically, which is nice because you kind of, you're kind of jumping around a little bit. And also it feels, I don't know, it feels like there's like it kind of connects everything, you know? And it's cool. So we went from the book of Esther, and then after that, I think we were seeing it was Nehemiah. It was either Nehemiah or Esther, one of those. But we ended up in the book of First Chronicles. That's where it led us, okay? And it led us to the book of First Chronicles. And it was so cool. Because I'll be honest, I've never read the book of First Chronicles. I never have. And so I don't know. I can't speak for my wife. I don't know if she's read it or not. I think she says she has read a little bit of it. But I know for a fact I haven't read any of it. And so we dove into it, and we thought it was just really cool. Because First Chronicles is just a summary of First and Second Samuel, talking about David's life and David's reign as a king. But it gave like a different perspective because this is what I like to do. So I don't know if you like to do this or not whenever you read the Bible. But before I read a book of the Bible, I like to do some research on it, get kind of an overview, kind of like some history on it. And I use a source called the Bible Project. These guys are amazing. I promote them. You've probably heard of the Bible Project, but if you haven't, go look at the Bible Project. They got some cool stuff on like overviews of each book of the Bible. And I love using them as kind of like a little bit of okay, cool. It gets my mind together of what I'm preparing myself for when I read this book. It doesn't give me everything. So then whenever I read, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now those things connect with what I saw, like what I heard in the Bible Project. Plus also I got this extra information. So let's see what we got. If you're just listening, I just completely elbowed my window that's right next to me. I didn't realize how long my arms are sometimes. But yeah, in First Chronicles, it just was summarizing David's life, but it gave him a more positive, like, light. Because, dude, I love David. I cannot wait to talk to that dude when I get to heaven. David is, because here's the thing, God called David a man after his own heart, okay? And then you saw David's life. And even though, yes, he was very faithful to God, and God used him in so miraculous ways, but also at the same time, you saw the sin in David's life, and you saw the flaws in his human nature, and God still calling him a man after his own heart. I don't know. It just sticks with me. I love it. I love it because I come from where, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard for me sometimes to kind of look at myself the way that God sees me. And I think of my sin so much that at times it does bring me down. When you think about it too much, and you're like, oh man, I'm just such a, I just suck, I just, not, great. You just start dwelling on the sin in your life, and then you kind of lose the image. You do lose the image of how God sees you. And I don't know, David just brings how his life, it just paints a perfect picture of the relationship between human, man, and God. And just like how we are, like David, I don't know, I just can relate to David in so many ways. Maybe because, fun fact, Dawson, my first name means son of David. So maybe that's why I have so much, I can relate to David's life story. But I don't know, it's just so cool to be able to read this from a different perspective and get like cool summaries on it. And also, David had so many wives. There was a portion in this because I just got to this part. It's in First Chronicles. It's at the end of chapter 15, and I think in verse 29. I forgot how many wives David had, but like I couldn't keep count of them at some point, and so I know that Saul, him and his, I think, sons, him and his sons, they eventually died. And so I thought like his family was got, his like whole, bloodline gone. But then I completely forgot about his daughter, his older, his daughters, or his older daughter at least, or was it younger daughter? It was younger daughter. I forgot about her. And so David, at the end of chapter 15, he was singing and dancing. They're bringing the Ark of the Covenant, and they were all like playing the cymbals and harps, and David was dancing. All right, David was doing his thing. He was praising the Lord. And then Saul's daughter looked down from the window and saw King David dancing and celebrating, and she despised him in her heart. And I was like, wait, who is this? Who is this girl again? I had to go back and I look it up, and I realized who she was. But I was like, man, David. I was like, yeah, I can't keep up. I can't keep track. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that she was still in the picture. But then I did some more deeper research on the internet, and I found out that it was like he asked her back from another kingdom and got her back. I don't know. It was crazy stuff. But all I have to say is David does have some stuff. But the thing is, though, is there's relatability in that. And also, even though we all have stuff as humans, God still can use us. And I love that about David's life. So, reading First Chronicles with my wife, we took a day and did that. And I don't know, I just found some really, really cool things that I would like to just talk about to kind of end this podcast before I have to go and make dinner. Not have to, I get to go make dinner because I love my wife. I love her so much. I don't know, there were some cool things, man. I loved how I love Cliff Notes sometimes. And Saul's, basically perfectly right there where in verses 13, 14 of chapter 10. Well, first off, the first 9 chapters is just a list of people's names. It can get really daunting. So I'll be honest, we were reading the names and then we were like, you want to go to chapter 10? So we looked up later why the names were important. The names are important. It really does bring the things together. But I would recommend doing some deeper research on the internet, going to the Bible Project, and they can help you out with why the names were, the importance of the names. I do agree the names are important, but it's just kind of like when you're reading 9 chapters of just names, I mean, I started kind of feeling like a substitute teacher, honestly. Like when I was reading that many names, like when I realized of how many, we were just like Zophoph's sons, Suah and Hafner. Are they present? Present? No? Okay, cool. Ulah's sons, Ara, Hananel, Rizia? No? The other 2 are here. Where's Rizia? He's sick today. Okay, well, make sure to let your dad Ulah know that he needs to let me know. No, that's what I felt like. I felt like that I was reading as a substitute teacher, making sure everybody was here, everybody was present, and I don't know. But we went over and we read a little bit of it, but then we went over to chapter 10, and it was just a very interesting. It kind of summarizes Saul's life, and I love this, how it kind of just tied it all together. Here in verse 13 in chapter 10, Saul died for his unfaithfulness to the Lord because he did not keep the Lord's word. He even consulted a medium for guidance, but he did not inquire the Lord, so the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David's son of Jesse. I said the J as a Finn would, because J is pronounced as a Y in Finnish. Fun fact. Anyways, Jesse. I like that. That gave me the concluding factor of Saul, because when you're reading 1st and 2nd Samuel, there's a lot of things going on. You can see the sin and the unfaithfulness in Saul's reign, but I love that concluding factor. It just ties it all together of why Saul, what happened to him and why he died. But then throughout the rest of the book, it's got 29 chapters. So yeah, it's a pretty big read if you want to do it all in a day. But I don't know, my wife and I were like, you know what, we need to get on it today. And we're like, all right, cool, let's just take this time and just keep reading and see what happens. We really just got into this book and really just loved it, because then where was I think it was eventually, I got to chapter 17. And there was a part in here where it really just kind of clicked and resonated in my heart in chapter 17 in 1 Chronicles. It was the first 15 verses. And at this point, he was bringing the Ark of the Covenant, and he brings it to Jerusalem. And then before that, then he has this really amazing psalm of thanksgiving. Like he was just thanking the Lord. It was just so beautiful to read that. And then in 17, David's bringing the covenant. And at the very beginning, it says, when he had settled into his palace, he said to Nathan the prophet, "Look, I'm living in a cedar house while the ark of the Lord's covenant is under tent curtains." So at this moment, David's got this great plan to build an awesome thing for the Ark of the Covenant, whatever it may be. His heart is pure. He has this idea. He's like, man, the Lord has done so much for me. I got the Ark of the Covenant, but I'm over here living in this palace, and then the Ark of the Covenant is just in the tent. I want to give it a nice place. And then Nathan told David, do all that is on your heart, for God is with you. So he's just doing it to glorify God. And Nathan was like, hey, I can't disagree with you on that. Like, that is, that's awesome that you would like to do that for the Lord. But then that night, I'm just going to go ahead and read. I think I'm just going to go ahead and read till 15. So Nathan told David, okay, but that night, in verse 3, it starts out, but that night the word of God came to Nathan, "Go to David, my servant, and say, this is what the Lord says. You are not the one to build me a house to dwell in. From the time I brought Israel out of Egypt unto today, I have not lived in a house. Instead, I have moved from tent to tent and from tabernacle to tabernacle. In all my travels throughout Israel have I ever spoken a word to even one of the judges of Israel, whom I commanded to shepherd my people, asking, why haven't you built me a house of cedar?" I love how God just puts it hey, he's like, I've never asked anybody to do that, but I don't know. You can just see that he's pleased. But he says, "Now, this is what you will say to my servant David. This is what the Lord of hosts says. I took you from the pasture and from following the sheep to be ruler over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have destroyed all your enemies before you. I will make you a name for you that like that of the greatest in the land. I will establish a place for my people Israel and plant them so that they may live there and not be disturbed again. Evildoers will not continue to oppress them as they formerly have. Ever since the day I ordered judges to be over my people Israel, I will also subdue all your enemies. Furthermore, I declare to you that the Lord himself will build a house for you when your time comes to be with your fathers. I will rise up after you, your descendant, who is one of your own sons, and I will establish his kingdom. He will build a house for me, and I will establish his throne forever. I will be a father to him, and he will be a son to me. I will not take away my faithful love from him, as I took it from the one who was before you. I will appoint him over my house and my kingdom forever, and this throne will be established forever. Nathan reported all these words and this entire vision to David. Amen. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. That spoke to me, because that showed me that David had a plan to glorify God. And his plan was, I'm going to put this ark in a nice home. And then God was like, hey, that's a cool plan. But I've never asked anybody to do that. Instead, I have a plan, and it is to bless you with a big kingdom, and then have your son, and he gave him a prophecy of like how he'll flourish the kingdom, and then his sons will take over. Like it to me, it spoke to me as, I feel as Christians, like I struggled with this so much, especially in my early faith. Back in 2021, I just got baptized. And I really rededicated my life to the Lord during that time. And that time I really that was like back in 2021, I really wanted to live for the Lord at that moment. I knew that I needed to give my life to the Lord, and I wanted my life to reflect that. I wasn't wanting to live for myself anymore. And I was so focused. Okay, I was like, now, God, what do you want me to do? I was like, I want to glorify you in something. I want to glorify you in all that I do. But then I'm thinking, like, what do you want me to do with my future? I think about that, I don't want to just go to a college, and I don't want to just pick a degree, because I did make a decision. I didn't have any plans to go to college. I had no interest, but I just didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I didn't feel anything in college pulling me to go there. I went there for a month out of fear, because it was during COVID, and I felt like my life was going to be over. But it spoke to me. This chapter in particular spoke to me, or these verses in particular spoke to me, because I then got to a point of where I really love doing stand-up comedy. I love making people laugh. I really do. I love doing it. And that's what I want to glorify God in. I want to glorify God in the things that I love to do. I believe he gives us the desires on our hearts. And stand-up comedy, for one, I know it's a very secular, industry, making people laugh, really. But I want to glorify God with that. Just on my heart. And I just wanted to see where it would go. And I saw what God was doing, and he moved me to Phoenix, and I was like, God, I want to glorify you in this. And that's what I was doing. I was doing stand-up for the Lord, and I wanted to just glorify him with that. And I had the David mission of where, I had this plan of glorifying God, but God ultimately, the plan that you have in your head is not going to always, it probably isn't going to be what you think it's going to be. Our human brains make us try to it might be this way or that way or what, but it's just beautiful because God just, I realized reading this, I'm like, wow, I went to Arizona to glorify God to do stand-up comedy. And out of that, he blessed me with an amazing wife. And I moved to Finland. I didn't do any of this. You can go back and listen to previous episodes of my podcast while I was in Arizona. I was at times in this deep darkness. I was in my Job season. I was literally not knowing what was going on. And at times, it just was crazy to me of what was going on. I didn't know where God was sometimes, And that's the thing I relate to David too, because dude, you go to Psalms, there'd be one moment where David's like, thank you, God, for taking me from the hands of my enemies, and they can't do anything with me. I'm going to take this sword and man, in your name. And then the next Psalm is like, God, where you at? I'm a mess. Psalm 86, I have it on my arm. Tattooed on my arm, Psalm 86. It's literally David. Like, I'll turn there right now. Psalm 86. Because literally, the previous chapter before, in 1 Chronicles, he was singing thanksgiving to the Lord. And then you got Psalm 86. Listen, Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. Protect my life, for I am faithful. You are my God. Save your servant who trusts in you. Be gracious to me, for I call to you all day long. Breathe joy to your servant's life, because I turn to you, Lord. And he just goes on. Like he's just, God, arrogant, verse 14 in Psalm 86, God, arrogant people have attacked me. A gang of ruthless men seeks my life. They have no regard for you, but you, Lord, are a compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger and rich in faithful love and truth. Like David is needing help, but he is also like clinging onto God because he knows how faithful God is and how awesome God is. And God's just not going to leave him there. And that's why I love David so much, because you see where I related to that, because there was at times where I was like, God, thank you for where you're putting me at. This is so awesome. And there was other times where there were just some circumstances that would happen. I'm just like, God, like, this is really hard. My human brain can't comprehend all this pain, and I need help. Like, I know you're there, but like, it's this, I feel so weak. I need your strength. Help me. And God was showing me of how much I needed him through all of that. And then out of that, I never thought I would ever get married. I was so fed that. And then all of a sudden, I mean, even friends and family and stuff like that, like it was just not on my radar, and I just didn't think it was for me. And it was just because it's just such a painful thing in my life where I was just like, I'm just never gonna, it's just, there's just no way that I would ever get married or find love and, have somebody to love on. And it's just not going to happen for me. But I prayed for it. I did pray for it. I prayed for it. And I don't know. It is not your typical, love story. Because, you're like, oh, man, Dawson, a job or an opportunity, or, Dawson, a marriage is not just going to, just pop up on my doorstep. It did for me. It really honestly did, because I did nothing. I wasn't looking. I wasn't seeking or anything. I was just trying to glorify God. And he brought me a different direction. I thought I wanted to glorify him one way, and then God was like, no, dude, I got something else though. I want to give this to you. And I just thought that was so beautiful. I really did. I thought that was absolutely incredible. And so that's the big thing that I got out of 1 Chronicles, and I just wanted to share with you guys, because I don't know what you're going through, or what the struggles may be and stuff like that. But God is there for you. I'm just saying, it's not that you get whatever you want. That's not how life works. But if you're glorifying God in all that you do, God is right there. But Satan is there too. Satan is right there too. and he's going to try to knock you down. He's going to try to let you just consume on your thoughts that you're not good enough, that you're a loser, full of shame, full of guilt. But God's also right there too, and you need to listen to the truth, not the lies. Don't get caught up in it. Side note, the only other thing the other side note is in chapter 20. And this is kind of more of a lighthearted one because I thought this was very interesting. The Philistine giants. I didn't know that was a thing, but this was crazy. Philistine giants. It says, verse 4 of chapter 20, after this, a war broke out with the Philistines at Gazer. At this time, I can't pronounce some of these, so just bear with me. Sibbecai, the Hushathite, killed Sipai, a descendant of the giants, and the Philistines were subdued. Once again, there was a battle with the Philistines. But the thing is, though, is that I read into how big these Philistine giants are. Like, Philistine giant, dude, Sipai, he was, apparently, King Bashan, his bed was 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. I just want to give you a perspective of what a Philistine giant will be. 13 feet long and 6 feet wide was his bed, apparently. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's a big bed. That's a big man right there. I'm telling you. I'd be praying like David too if I had to face some people like that. I mean, he would get drafted into the NBA for sure. Basketball, automatic scholarships all around. He doesn't have to prove himself whatsoever. That dude is starting right then and there. 13 foot. What do you got? 7 foot NBA people right there? That's 6 more feet. 6 more feet of human. He was almost double the size of a NBA player now. Almost double the size. Dude, if he doesn't make it to the NBA, he will be stocking shelves at grocery stores. Shelves. Everybody's asking him, "Hey, can you reach the top shelf for me? Hey, can you please help me out? You giant, 13 feet tall." Well, his bed was just 13 feet long. He could be longer. His feet could still be hanging off the edge. I didn't know a human could get that big. I didn't know that someone could get that big. That is ginormous. Just an all-around athlete. And he blew all of it to be a Philistine. Ugh. And he could have been an athlete. What a shame. This giant could have went and done amazing things, destroyed records. But instead, he didn't realize what was ahead of him. But isn't that beautiful? But before I go, though, I do want to. I just remembered. Because I just pulled it up. I just remembered that, through this great message. Actually, you know what? I will save that for another time. I will, because I think my wife's about to be home. I think she is. She should be home any moment. But anyways, I want to thank y'all I didn't know how deep this podcast episode would get, but honestly, it just feels great to talk about, being able to dive into the Word, and I don't know, just share what I've been reading with yeah, and y'all, and hopefully, yeah, y'all get something out of it. I don't know, but give y'all some motivation and stuff. But thank y'all so much for listening to the podcast and just supporting it. I love the likes, shares, comments, and stuff like that. I mean, I know it's nice. It really does. I mean, it does mean a lot. But I don't do this podcast for that. But thank you so much for listening. I think she should be home any moment, and I think tonight, I'm gonna have to get my cook on, so I gotta go clean the kitchen. But love you guys, and talk to you later.